Do you feel stuck, frustrated, depressed, and don't know what's missing? On today's episode, learn how to identify what your authentic values are and how to live an inspired life. Welcome to Heartful Beings, where we bring loving, grounded, and practical perspectives to living a heart-centered life with Janet Uribe and Milena Rodriguez.
This is the place where we have heart-centered conversations and share our own experiences about all things spiritual while keeping our feet on the ground. Take what resonates and nourish your soul.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Heartful Beings with myself, Janet Uribe, and the amazing, intuitive guide, Milena Rodriguez.
Hello, everyone. I hope y'all are doing okay today or wonderful today.
So today, guys, we always start with a chit chat before we meet with you. And what we discovered today was a very big theme for both Milena and I in the last week or two was authentic values. And so a lot of you might be asking, well, what is an authentic value? And there are values, yes, that we grew up with and that you can identify or label as like a character trait or a socialized idealism, like loyalty or connectivity, warmth, and being a leader. There's values there. But what we're really talking about is discovering, identifying, and aligning with your authentic values, which if I were to list out my authentic values to you today, they are family and career, which, by the way, interchange frequently for me, depending on where we are for the day or time of the day. And then from there, after that, it would actually be social relationships. And followed by that would be traveling, nourishment and food, like specifically, giving myself, my body what it needs. And then after that, I have a whole list of values that follow, like fun or entertainment and so on. So what I really want you to think about is, how do you spend your time, your energy, your money, your attention, your thinking, and what direction does it go? Because that is your value.
Totally. And I'm thinking right now, because this just came up for me, was part of when I was in my rock bottoms, or part of the times that I was really struggling, because I'm realizing now it was a lot of the values that I had with old me didn't necessarily align to where I actually wanted to go or who I actually wanted to be. And that's okay. But part of the feelings of I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what parts of me I wanted to keep and what parts of me were trying to change. It was just all very confusing time for me. Part of that on the other side was coming out of what my new list of values. So kind of like Janet was even saying how her two top values kind of go back and forth depending on the time of day and where you are at your life. Some of the values may stick with you, I think, throughout your life. Some may need some changing. Some may need some reevaluating. Some may need just new positioning, where I'm about to have a baby. We were just talking about what our calendar looks like kind of for the rest of the year. And, I'm pretty much in September, my values are going to change quite a bit. I'm going to be bringing a new baby into the world. I'm going to get into a mommy nesting mode. People may not see me a lot. And then once I get out of that part, then I can start reintegrating with seeing clients again and getting back into work when I'm ready, or whatever that may look like at that time. So these values, as you start thinking of what are my top values right now, those are for today and where you're at now, so give yourself some grace and compassion if they change. I think we get really stuck in the fixed, right? And that's okay also at times, but I think also giving them some flexibility, so I think we can maybe even share what our it's so funny how Janet and I, and also clients and other members of my family, we will all go through very similar growing experiences with each other, because there'll be themes that come up. So right now we have this theme of values. So I'll just share real quick, but I had a family member that was helping us out, and it didn't happen the way I wanted it specifically. So I had to do some, evaluation on that. But at the end of the day, what I came out on the other side was that this person had their value system, had their paradigm, had their belief systems and structures, and I had mine. So when they kind of collided, it really had nothing to do with me and where I was and what I wanted and what I valued and what I would do if I was in that person's position, right? But it was really understanding and holding space for that person to be who they are. Does that make sense without giving
Heck
too many
yeah.
details?
Heck yeah. And I mean, even going deeper into that, it's like you learning that, you know what, if I was in that position, I would have my own type of boundary with it. And in their situation position, they also have their type of boundary with it.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, because our value systems, they are so distinctly different. Something that came up from us speaking about this was we realized how many times we ourselves as individuals aren't honoring our own values. And this actually starts with a joke. We've made a joke that maybe we'll have an episode called The First Gods. And the first gods are oftentimes perceived by the baby as our parents, okay? Because the baby doesn't have a conceptual idea outside of this being that comes and takes care of me and changes my diaper and feeds me and meets my needs, until we start to develop that more cognitively later on down the road. But what's fascinating is one thing that we teach our parents a lot, or our parents teach us, because we take it and then we start to like basically swallow it and digest it, is you don't know what is in your own best interest. And you actually can't know what is in your own best interest until you start deep diving authentically to identify and pinpoint what is in your own best interest.
Yes.
What resonates with you? Who are you? How does that feel when you hear this concept? So one thing that I was struggling with was when I was a stay-at-home mother. I think I was a stay-at-home mother just long enough until I started to get that itch and started to feel kind of uncomfortable and a little miserable because I knew there was more that I wanted to offer besides just being mom. Don't get me wrong. I love being a mother. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. I'm honored my babies picked me, but there was more. And the moment I started honoring more, I started growing more of my own authenticity in a way that reflected how good I felt about it.
Yeah.
However, once I was there for some time and I nursed a company up to where it needed to be, it was time for me to go. And I discovered something about myself. I'm a leader. But and being in a franchise type of company, I wasn't honoring the fact that I am actually meant to create my own platforms and be my own leader and help lead others to their own freedom as well. So every day that I stayed there, guys, I got a little bit more miserable and I ignored it until the point I got sick. And then once you're sick, I started to tank so much, and so did other areas of my life. And the core root of this was I was not living my authentic truth. I was not acknowledging my deeply rooted trauma, and I was not living my authentic value.
100%. And I love that you brought in the baby, because that is the first time we are downloaded. We start to get the programs and experience the values within the family unit, within the culture, within the country that we are born in. Okay. So none of us can escape that, right? But at what point do we then develop the brain capacity and the desire to step into why we're actually here? What is it? And that'll happen, like teenage years, where like teenagers are supposed to challenge everything. That is their job. And I was very good at that. Then you get into the adult years, and then, it just gets to a point at where do the values become our cage, that we inherited, or like we're supposed to, we should, this is what we're meant to do. This is what would make my family proud. And those values that we'll inherit and then adopt as our own. But then do we give ourselves the grace to say, you know what? I tried that out for a little bit. I changed my mind. Yeah. Because with you, Janet, I'm on the opposite end, where I knew I was a leader for most of my life. And I always found myself in positions and roles, management roles, leadership roles, supervisory roles, until I got pregnant. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, well, I'm going to go back to work because I value work. I value integrity. I value my career that I've built up to this point. And I can do both. I can be super mom. And I had built up this desire at the time. And sure, that worked. Then I had her and she changed my whole life. And I was like, well, no, I'll still go back to work. And I missed her. But then there was a point where I was like, being a stay-at-home mom, that was never one of my values. That was never anything I aspired to be, but that's all I wanted to do. And I just like ignored that until I was absolutely miserable, because I didn't know how to like put myself first and my desires, and my values had completely changed. Not that they weren't wrong 9 months prior to that, because that's where I was and I had those value systems, but they changed. And it wasn't until I started honoring that authenticity, because now authenticity is a huge value of mine. I love being around authentic people, and I'm not judging people who maybe aren't in their authentic space, right? But I value having those kind of people around me, and I value trying to be my most authentic self as I can. But bringing that up and allowing myself to be that authentic person was terrifying. Because that was really a point in my life that I was like, this is for me and me only, and for my daughter and for my family, because I know it's what's right. So I'm so glad you brought up those points.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it'll change at any given moment in time. And it's really about, and for leadership specifically, and for even if you're not a leader, if you're looking to make change in your life, it's about waking up today and recognizing what should be your highest priority value at that moment.
Yeah.
How does this benefit me? What is in my best interest? And so what's fascinating is I do have two clients that I've been working with, and they want change, they want change, they want change. But because others in the form of employers or in the form of the school systems or the form of the parents and grandparents have always known what's in their best interest, they almost wait for these individuals to come and start making the changes for them.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
I remember I've always been kind of messy and untidy. And one day my mentor some years ago was like, Janet, your mom is never going to come and teach you how to clean your room. And I thought, oh, shoot, that hurt. Okay, thank you for that truth.
Oh my God. So can I be on the flip side of that? Yeah. Where I was in a controlling place and I was like, I'm the only one that can do it right kind of place. And so then I was blocking out all kinds of help and assistance and like people that could have actually lightened the load. Yeah. So it's these values. Yeah, it could be tricky.
The values are tricky and they're ever changing at any given moment. But for those of you who are, if you're really on the path of transformation, or if you're on the path of awakening or starting to look to make more conscious change, I'm going to use like a pragmatic example. I think a lot of Americans idealize the shorter work week that the Europeans have. However, that is also by design. It is also a collective agreement. It is also a value system of theirs. But if we were to look at what our value systems are in America, how are they different? Where are we putting our time, energy, and money? We've been conditioned to produce. We've been conditioned through our current society and system to basically go into a school system that is created to create a workforce.
Yes.
So I think a lot of us have this tendency to kind of get stuck in the mundane or get stuck in the monotony of, well, this is what I was told it was supposed to be. And if you listen and you try to live under someone else's value system or someone else's ideology or someone else's paradigm of this is how it's supposed to be, and it does not honor who you are, you're going to get anxiety. You're going to get depression. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel like something's missing.
Yeah.
So if you don't start honoring, if you're someone who's a curious person and you like new experiences and you're not creating them within your life or finding them and seeking them or making it, even if you can't afford a trip to Japan and you're not, maybe making it over to a new neighbor's home to discover something new about their culture, about how things run in their home and uniqueness that kind of inspires your curiosity, then you're going to feel stuck.
Girl, the smallest example just came up. Yes. I was feeling a little stuck this morning and I knew I just had like this stagnant, like kind of energy, in this pregnancy. I have a high risk pregnancy. And so I'm not supposed to do a lot of things. Okay. Like physical things. And I'm a very physical person. I love taking long walks. I love doing yoga. I love, going and lifting weights. I love dancing and like doing all these things. And with this pregnancy, I just had to take it easy. So I had to shift my perspective and my mindset, which is right now, I just need to honor that I get to be pretty chill right now and just be in this place. But I still get antsy because it's also part of me wants to be physical. So I texted Janet 5 minutes before we were supposed to get on. I was like, I'm going to be late. And so then I just went into the room and I just put on my favorite Beyonce song right now. And I just had a dance party because I needed to move. I needed to shake. I needed to like get some energy out because I was just feeling so like constrained. And then I got on and I'm like, panting, a little sweaty. And I was just like, oh, I feel so much better. So those little things can help remind yourself of how to fulfill those values. So if you're a creative person, but you literally don't have time in your day or week to honor the creativity part, it can be something really small, a little doodle, or whatever, however you show the creativity. Some people it's planting, gardening, just finding a moment, even 5 minutes can help at least be like, oh yeah, I'm acknowledging you right now. Because yeah, you get really anxious, you feel like tight, you can feel physical pain, all these different ways that it manifests when we're not living our authentic values.
Yeah. And there's, in living your authentic values, what's really neat is I want you to think about if you're living something that lights you up. That's a big theme that we like to talk about here.
Yes.
What lights you up? You're in alignment. So sometimes we'll just wait and seek and wish and long for the alignment. When's it going to come? Guys, you get to choose to get in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strange concept to some, but you actually get to choose how you're going to show up today, what you're going to do with today, and how you will enjoy it or not.
Yes. And like how you were talking about how people have always told us what's in our best interest. You might be out there listening and you're like, I don't even know what's in my own best interest. So breaking down even that wall to figure out how do I step into my own authenticity.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Like maybe like a tool that somebody can do right now, an exercise, a homework assignment that they can do to help figure out what their values are.
Years ago, someone made this very pragmatic for me. Two ways, or a mentor of ours. And she brought it down to something as simple as food. What do you like and what do you not like? And then I think a secondary form or version of that was us going shopping. And you're going to buy something. What are you willing to invest your money in? And what are you not willing to invest your money in? And not the kind where you're like, I'm doubtful. Should I get it? Should I not get it? It's the purchase that you look at and you say, I am not walking out of here without this today.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening, guys, when it comes to your values and you're sitting here trying to question society, it's really just looking at something, sitting with something and asking yourself, how does this resonate with me?
Yeah.
What do I feel from it? What kind of sensation does it build in my body? How does it bring me pleasure? How does it not bring me pleasure? What do I gain out of having this in my life? So when you start to look at the semantics and pragmatic ideas behind it, you can start to identify who you are.
Yeah.
And by the way,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, go ahead, finish.
You go. But yeah, so as we start to identify who we are, you actually start to live more authentically.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dol.
Yeah, you're reminding me of a client I had a couple months ago. So all those things that Janet just listed, how does it feel? What lights you up is the big one. Like I had this client, she had been in such a workplace for so long, she had forgotten what even brought her joy. Like totally had forgotten. And so our session ended up being a very big digging and going back into figuring out what are the little, and we just started little, okay, like little baby steps of like what used to bring her joy. And so I gave her the homework assignment. I was like, try them out again. It may not work for you right now. That might be old you, but you got to start somewhere. So if you've absolutely forgotten what even brings you joy, like I don't even remember because life has been so wild or crazy. Start writing a list of the things that you used to love. And I'm talking about even back as a little kid. Okay. Riding a bike. Okay. Like that's one thing that I've never stopped enjoying in my adult life. I love riding bikes. Think of those little playful things that used to bring you joy. And I guarantee as a child, some version of that is still with you now. It just may have changed a little bit in the vehicle or like the semantics of it. So I think another way is to really explore what are the little things? And if you had a terrible childhood, I'm sure there were still moments where you were alone in the backyard looking at a bug and you were like, this is so cool. So even just, and so what would that look like in your adult version? Going to a park you've never been before, and exploring as a child would. So these little things that would light you up, you can start writing down and making the framework of where your values are now. And then keeping that in mind, because that may change in a year from now. But I think starting off with what brings you joy, then you can get the values with the career and all the other things. There's always going to be, I think, Janet, you've told me this before, there's always going to be one part of your life that may be struggling a little bit. Always. I mean, and unless you're a very balanced person and you just are having a kick-ass day and you're like, my family's good, my career is good, I slept good, my body's good, celebrate that. But all the other days when shit's burning in one area, but you're feeling really good in the other area, the values can help you figure that stuff out too.
Absolutely. I think that's really normal, guys, that
yes.
like, oh my God, I can't even. There have been moments where my business like doubled and I'm like, this is fascinating. And look at my staff. Oh my gosh, I love my staff. They are awesome. And then I come home and I go and talk to my partner, rather other way around. My partner comes home and then I'm like, look at that. And I was getting naggy, making fires, okay, blowing shit up, going all over the place. And all I could do when I went to bed that night was like, well, everything is perfect.
In the chaos.
And then the next day the business might have all of these growing pains and it's like, okay, I'm struggling. I'm gonna get it one thing at a time. And then, I wake up and my partner has made breakfast for my children and got them to school and has supported me and gets me my lemon water. Like, it's fascinating how the vacillation is there and there's balance in all things, but God is not exactly asking you to address all of it all at once.
No.
Guys. The universe isn't like, fix your whole life right now, but you can start by looking at your values. You can say and look at what is the most important thing to me today, right now? What is it that would bring me the most joy? Or what is it that would be in my best interest to address right now?
Mm-hmm.
And get help for it. That's something I often forget to do. Yes. Yesterday, I texted Milena. I was like, hey, bring in the angels. Shit's hitting the fan. And I was like, why am I asking Milena to bring in the angels? Why am I not just? And then the second I just had that realization, everything ironed out.
Yeah. But there's also nothing wrong with asking for help to help you boost that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is perfect. And I want to share this card that we pulled to kind of get a little bit more insight of, what we wanted to say here today. And this is a angel tarot. So it's not traditional tarot. It's got a lot of angel imagery and influence. So it says the King of Raphael. Raphael is the healer, the doctor, the angel, the archangel that you would call in to, just help you mend, heal. And it's the king. So this is a lot of masculine energy. This is a lot of the doing energy, the organizing, entrepreneur energy. And it says, yes, it's safe to trust, the ability to accomplish many things at once and follow your creative passions. This just screamed values all over it. Because do we trust ourselves to know what our values are? Do we know? Do you realize that you have the ability to handle everything that life throws at us? And even when you feel like you're drowning in one area, that's of purpose too. So surrendering to that idea and then following your creative passions of what brings you joy. These are all ways to figure out even more so of what the value system is. And with that masculine energy, that king energy, it's kind of like asking you all who are listening to this to do the work for it, is a message I'm getting, right? Do some of the self-discoveries, do some of the journaling, do some of the long thought processes, however it is that you process information, and just start asking yourself, what are my new values? What are values that are coming or trying to come to light that I'm not allowing, out of fear or unknowing how to deal with it.
Incredible. Girl, will you try to show us that card? Is that possible?
Yes.
You had to put it in front of you, huh?
Yep. So those of y'all who are watching us on the video, we'll also be posting this to our social media. So there will be opportunity for you to see that as well. But yeah, you
Wow.
see this man who's the king of his kingdom, and Raphael's right behind supporting, you know, you as you navigate whatever this is that you're navigating. And I even say that with the water, you know, because the water's super peaceful behind him and it's like crashing in front, but he's still the king. So even if shit's burning around you, that also serves a purpose because of the oscillating that must happen. You
Oh,
know,
it's
it's
so true.
natural.
The contrast is what creates the creation we desire. So heck yeah. Girl, that
Mhm.
card makes me want to go like take a massive sock and just stick it in my pants, put my crown on, get on my throne, you know,
Yeah, look at your
kick
kingdom
back.
that you've created.
I am a
And
king.
then where do you want to make changes? You know, or what do you want to just keep going the way it's going?
Hell yeah. I agree. I can't remember where I read this recently, but it was about either, you know, if you want change, you can have it. So you just
Mhm.
decide, do you either want to double down on the change that you want and show up for yourself, or you have the choice of keeping it exactly as it is.
Mhm.
I will tell you one thing though, and I feel like we'll end on this.
Mhm.
One thing that is inevitable is that change will happen.
Yes,
Change will find you. And
it's
adapt.
supposed to.
Yeah, it's why we're here. The entire purpose of being here is expansion.
Yeah.
It is evolution. It is embodiment through that expansion. And so the change will come and it will oftentimes get bigger. So I have this tendency in my life, and I know that many of us do. I know Melena has had this happen too. Where the rug will be pulled out from under you
Mhm.
until you agree to do what you came here to do, until you discover yourself, until you align with yourself.
Mhm.
But the change is coming. You can meet it with ease or you can fight it.
Yeah, and I kind of want to go back to the story I shared earlier was with the value systems. When my value systems kind of, you know, head butted a little bit with this family member's value systems. Old me would have fought it, tried to convince the other person, like, see it my way, see it my way, see it my way. And this was a situation that did not require that, I'll say, because there are moments where our value systems do collide. And yes, it is best to walk away for your own personal safety, or it's best to walk away for your own authenticity. But this was a moment where honoring where that person was at and that authenticity of like, that's where they're at in my new self, it was much more peaceful, the interaction.
Yeah.
Because I actually did a lot of self-discovery and I stood true in my new value systems of, well, this is my integrity. This is what I believe. This is how I believe energy works. What else that kind of came out? And more of the value system of just giving people the space to be who they are instead of always being the one that challenges that. That doesn't feel good in me anymore. So kind of bringing back that idea too of like, you know what your values are, you do the work, figure it out, and then how does it look in the world?
Yeah. And my favorite thing about hearing that example of yours was that you used it. So you used that moment of adversity or that moment of trigger or that moment of,
Such a trigger. It was a big trigger,
yeah,
guys. There was some tears involved. There was some rewriting of things. There was some deep work that I had to do.
yeah, but you used it. And
I did.
so there's this tendency for us as humans to not use it, to just start pointing fingers or getting frustrated, or even fine, you're not going to turn the finger outwardly. You might be like, why me? I'm in this situation,
I
right?
literally could have been in Butthurt Alley for a very long time over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you used it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You used it.
Because now I have the tools, not to say that this will be an easy thing with the next thing that triggers me or any of you guys listening. But when you have those moments of like, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I did a great job in using the adversity that was being shown to me for my best and highest good. This does not always work smoothly, guys. But I will say that last week was a big growing moment for me, of who I am now. And it validated me first and foremost.
Dang, girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kudos on that one. Self-validation. That's a whole episode.
Yes, that is.
Well, my darling doll faces, man faces, and every face in between, we love you so much. Thanks for dropping by this week. And we'll be really excited to see what comes up between now and the next episode. We never know.
We never know what the universe is going to show us to share. And we'd love to hear from you guys after hearing this episode. You can follow us at Heartful Beings and let us know what your values are, or, what's coming up for you and what's changing. So share.
Absolutely, friends. All right. You guys have a beautiful day. Farewell. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye. If you liked what you heard today and want to see more about our offerings and gifts, please join our email list at heartfulbeings.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Heartful Beings.
Please note that our perspectives and views of the following content are ours and are not necessarily substitute to our holistic views and approaches to healing. Both of us believe in the numerous support tools available to all, which include and are not limited to therapy, mental health treatment, medical, prescription, and other types of traditional or alternative healthcare.